My boyfriend is terrified of spiders and is demanding that I move my pet tarantula to the basement, but I am refusing because the basement is too cold for the animal to survive, and we are at a standstill. Posted by you/throw tarantula. The title basically sums it up, but I'll add some more detail. Thank you for reading this. I, 22F, met my boyfriend, 26M, exactly 2 years ago. At the time, I had 3 pet tarantulas, Skittles, Mittens, and Christopher. I don't know how much you all know about tarantulas, but they live in warm environments, specifically the rainforest and desert for my Ts. They also never leave their enclosures for any reason, just like a fish. A year ago, I moved into the house my boyfriend owns. Originally, the tarantulas were all placed in the basement office. It was summer, and the tarantulas were fine. When winter came, I noticed the basement was unaffected by the central heater. Only one room in the basement has heat, and it isn't the office the Ts were in. In February, Skittles passed away, and I moved the remaining 2 Ts to the upstairs office, to still keep them out of sight. In October, it started to get cold again. I noticed that the upstairs office was the coldest room on the floor. I researched reptile heating pads, but everything said not to use them for young tarantulas. I put a space heater in the office, but a draft still made the ambient room temperature too low. I tried everything I could, but then Mittens passed away as well. Left with 1 tarantula, I moved Christopher to the kitchen/dining room peninsula where it was definitely warm enough. Christopher is in a container smaller than a shoebox in size. My boyfriend immediately demanded that I remove Christopher from the kitchen and put him in the basement. I asked my boyfriend if there was anywhere else the T could go on the upper floor besides the office, and I was told to put him in the basement. Basically, we got into an argument about this. I explained the health concerns for the animal, and my boyfriend said he didn't care. I explained to him that, whether or not he liked it, the spider was in my care and I was ethically obligated to care for it no matter what. I said that I've had Christopher for 4 years and that I had the tarantulas before we started dating. My boyfriend said he would think about it, but Christopher is still on the counter, and it's become the elephant in the room. What should I do? Top/relevant comments. Commenter. I'm surprised your boyfriend let you move Christopher, Mittens, and Skittles in the first place, as he's terrified of them. Any idea what it is exactly that terrifies him about spiders? Could he be willing to learn to be less afraid of them? I'm assuming it's a slim chance, as living with them for the past few years hasn't made him less terrified. So, there are no heated areas in the house other than places where your boyfriend will see Christopher, which is not an option. And if you keep Christopher in an unheated area, chances are he won't survive. I guess the question is, who are you more attached to? Could you rehome your boyfriend, or would you be willing to rehome Christopher? Ops response. He doesn't like the way they move, but Christopher is pretty much a pet rock. Plus, Christopher lives in an opaque container, so he isn't visible unless you lift the lid and open it. I am more attached to a creature that has never harmed anything but crickets than a grown man willing to throw away the life of an animal over irrational fear. Even if I didn't date my boyfriend, I would still have to care for the animal I own. Commenter 2. Reading through your explanations about external heat sources and such, could you not put Christopher in a larger tank, in the basement, with an external heat source near one side of the tank? Wouldn't that give him the ability to choose where he is most comfortable at any given time, close to the heat or further from it? Ops response. I would put him in a larger tank, but that was another fight my boyfriend and I had. He wants the T kept in the smallest tank possible. If the tank were larger, I would do exactly as you said. For the size of the T, it should be in a container roughly 12 by 12 by 9 inches. Anything bigger is just fluff, which I don't mind at all. Update 4 months later. I got so many hateful private messages from the last post that I did not want to update, but I had just as many requests to update, so here I am. To clear some things up, I asked my boyfriend if the spiders were okay to have in the house before we moved in together. He said it was fine as long as they were not visible. The basement part happened only because my display case is in the basement, but there was never an agreement to keep the spiders only in the basement, just out of sight. As for the cage, I had asked to increase the size a few months ago. My boyfriend disagreed with spending the money on a larger cage. We split finances, but he's a student and I'm the only one bringing in income, and also because it made him uncomfortable. We had been discussing it for months. Regarding the other dead tarantulas, I have cared for inverts since I was a child. I have 3 pet scorpions as well, but no one seems to be scared of the scorpions. Now for the update.
Hey guys, real quick, I hope you're enjoying the story. Don't forget to subscribe, it would really help the page. Thanks for supporting.
After I got home from work, I asked to have a talk. I asked my boyfriend if there was any way to compromise about the spiders. I asked if he was willing to let me get a bigger cage and keep Christopher in the basement, and he said no. I asked if I could move the spider to a different room, and he said no. I asked if there was anything I could do, and he said no. All he said was no. I had asked him to elaborate. I asked him why he would allow me to move in at all, and he said it was because he thought the spiders would die in a few months like fish. I had explicitly explained to him that tarantulas live for 10 plus years. I asked if he was willing to seek therapy at all, and he told me, "I don't need to seek therapy just because you decided to bring a nasty creature into my house. I'm not the one with the problem. You have problems. You're a beach, and you're even more of a beach for thinking it would be okay for me to put up with your monsters. Only a effing evil monster would allow another evil monster to live with her. Take your evil monsters with you and get the F out of my house, WH Re." At this point, I couldn't believe that someone I loved called me a beach and a WH Re, so I just calmly went and started packing up my things. My boyfriend followed me from room to room, calling me a spider no, I'm not making that up, and asking me if I would rather date Peter Parker. I told him to please leave me alone so I could pack, and he got violent. He started picking up my clothes and throwing them at me, as well as kicking my legs. I then called the police and went outside to sit in my locked car. While waiting, my boyfriend was pounding on the car door. He then went back inside and returned with Christopher's cage and threw it at me, then he kicked my cat. Well, the police showed up, and my boyfriend was arrested. He's being charged with domestic violence and animal cruelty because my cat has a broken rib. Christopher is dead. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Someone who is deathly afraid of spiders would not pick up the spider's cage and throw it at a car. I'm not saying the boyfriend isn't afraid of spiders, but it certainly says something that his anger overcame his fear. Commenter 2. I am terrified of spiders. I lock up when I see them, just complete and utter freeze mode. I don't want to touch them, I don't want them to touch me, nope, nada, and nilch. I would not physically be capable of hefting a tarantula enclosure and yeeting it at someone. Not only am I afraid of spiders, but that's a living creature in there, and it would suffer if I did that. It would suffer for no reason. This was 1000% about controlling her and ramping up abuse. Commenter 3. I am very sorry for the loss of your spider. I say this with all seriousness, and am not trying to downplay your loss. Maybe you can see Christopher dying as him making a sacrifice to save you from a bad relationship choice? Ops response. Thanks. I don't know if I can think of my baby as a sacrifice, but I know that Christopher wouldn't have wanted me to stay with a guy like that. I'm going to miss my fuzzy dude. Additional info from Op. I feel like that escalated quickly, but my boyfriend has a history of anger issues with previous girlfriends. He was arrested for DV harassment when he was 19, but his then girlfriend testified for him and the charges were dropped. I thought that 6 years was enough to change someone, but I was wrong. Everything he did to the animals, he did because I called the police. He snapped because there were drugs in the house and he didn't want to go to jail again. His DV harassment was for shouting, not for hitting, but I should have known better. I didn't include it because I assumed this was a stupid argument over a tarantula, and maybe with some advice for overcoming a phobia. We haven't had any major fights over anything but the tarantula. Things were perfect besides this. As for the drugs, it was weed.